Yes, the lawn looks great. The lawn looks fabulous, but the problem I've got is I've had rain or drizzle for 3 days straight. I can't get out here and cut it. Man, it's just killing me. But this is also a good time for you to understand your soil saturations, how that affects your pre-emergence, and some tips about applying your pre-emergence because a lot of people apply them wrong and at the wrong time. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, and I think it'll help you out. So hold on. What causes this? See that right there? Do you know what causes that? Take a guess. There's another one over here. You know what causes that? Volvo animal. It is. It's the Volvo animal. Because my wife backs her car out right there, turns the wheel in the grass. Please, people. Just a real quick note. Lawn pea spot. I got my bottle in. I did a video on this yesterday or day before, and this is a cover-up and cure for dog urine burn spots in your lawn. I think the initial shipment sold out already, but they have more going, so if you're looking for it, it'll be back up on Amazon. Green Shocker. I went online. I got a call from Anderson saying, hey, Green Shocker's back on stock. I ordered 6 bags. I'm having shipped down to the beach house for the zoysia lawn, so now I can use that other stuff here. But if you want it, in the description below, I'll link to it. But I did send out an email, so I don't know if it's available or sold out or not. Don't yell. So, but this is the time of year where the temperatures start to cool off. Cool season weeds can start to sprout up. Our lawn gets weaker, so there's less competition in the lawn, so your weeds can sprout up. The average person probably needs to start thinking about pre-emergent about now, and it's when the temperatures start to dip. I pushed mine off a little bit later, but I have had such a bad problem with poana on the yard, especially over in that back area, and there's a corner out front. I'm going to do a split treatment, and I talk about this split treatment in the spring, and it works so well, and it's why I don't have any weeds, 0 weeds in my lawn all year, and I have not had to put down a weed killer on my lawn. And that's our goal. Our goal is to properly apply the pre-emergent, get our grass growing fast in the spring so that it just chokes out all these other weeds. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to run through some tips that I think are really important for pre-emergent, and they get a little bit in depth, so you're going to have to stick with me. First of all, let's talk about the timing. As soon as the temperatures start to cool, that's when the cool season weeds, stuff like poana and all kinds of cool season weeds can start to pop up, and your grass starts to thin out. So when your grass starts to thin out, the weeds can actually reach the sunlight. They can actually start to grow. So that's that transition period in the fall. Again, this is about the time. We have some cooler temperatures moving in this week. Matter of fact, there's going to be a low in the 50s coming up tomorrow morning, I think it is. And so we're getting some of those cool temperatures move in. So we might want to start thinking about the pre-emergent. Let's talk about the soil. When to apply it based on rain and soil saturation. You have to understand that pre-emergents don't work on the lawn, they work in the soil. And what ends up happening is a pre-emergent doesn't stop seed from germinating, it stops the seed from developing. It sort of stops the root growth, it stops cell replication or new cells from growing. So I just came off of 4 days of rain. My soil is absolutely saturated. This is not the time to be putting down pre-emergent. So rule number 1, apply pre-emergent to a dry soil. That's one of my top rules. You have to wait until you've had no rain for at least 2 days, nice sunny weather where your soil, the upper layer, is dried out. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, after you apply your pre-emergent, water it in. Water that pre-emergent in and get it into the soil. Remember, clay soils especially, what they do is they have silt and silica, and that locks up once it starts to get wet, and that's where you get runoff. But if you get that pre-emergent into the soil, it's locked into the soil. Rule number 3, understand the difference between the different pre-emergents. There isn't a huge amount of difference. I like to use 2 different types. I like to use the granular, which I link to below. In the description below, I put up a web page with all this stuff on it. I put links to Green Shocker, to the Pea Spot, the pre-emergents, everything, and the Bermuda Lawn Guide. Get the Bermuda Lawn Guide because we talk about this. We talk about the split program. I use Dimension, which focuses a lot on grassy weeds, especially like poana. So Dimension is a spray that I put out And I also use the granular from Anderson's, which is down below. The granular I like because it does a real good job of more of on the leafy type weeds, but it lasts a lot longer. Not a lot longer, but it just lasts longer in the soil. So I'm going to do 2 treatments, the same I do in the spring, which is a split treatment. I'm going to come out and I'm going to put down a granular pre-emergent, and then I'm going to wait about 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to put down my other treatment of the Dimension, the spray treatment. That'll probably hold me over most of the winter because I come out earlier than most. Pre-emergents have a tendency, pre-emergents will last usually about 90 days. So because they last about 90 days, there's no reason to come out a little bit early. So one other tip that I'll give you too, especially on the granular, a lot of people have a tendency not to order enough pre-emergent. You want to make sure that you get good coverage. So figure out what you're going to need. Look at the bag, the labels online, figure out how much you're going to need, and then add or order 1 extra. Pre-emergent in the bag lasts a long time, but you want to make sure you don't want to run out on a certain area and not have it. Now, if you buy, I linked to the Dimension product. It's not cheap, by the way, but it lasts a long time. I like the Dimension because it focuses more on the grassy weeds and has a little bit of post-emergent killing capability. The granular is a true pre-emergent. It's only focused on the soil. Okay, real quickly, I want to touch on the subject of new sod and new seed. The rule of thumb is you don't put pre-emergents down on new sod or new seed for a period of 1 year. And why is that? It's because it's in the soil and it'll sort of slow down or stop root growth. So we don't want to take a brand new sodded lawn, put pre-emergent on it and have it stop that cell division and cell replication and have the root stop developing. But there is a window. So if you had sod put down in the spring and it has had a full season of growth, I say that you can go in the dead of winter. So for me, that would be the coldest, like in January, and put down pre-emergent. Why is that? Well, it's because your roots have already probably grown 2 or 3 inches. The pre-emergent will only sort of hang out in that first inch and a half of the soil, and by the time it starts to penetrate any deeper than that, it's sort of lost its effectiveness. Does that make sense? So the same thing, like the zoysia lawn down at the beach house. People were asking if I was going to put pre-emergent down on it. Yes, but I'm going to wait. That grass is just established phenomenally, and when I pull it up, I already have roots that are 2-3 inches deep inside there. I have some deep roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till that lawn goes almost completely dormant, the coldest month of the year, which for me is probably January, February, and I will put down a good coat of pre-emergent on that lawn. It's not that the roots stop totally growing, but there's just not any active growth during that time. So I can put down a good coat of pre-emergent, and then as that cold weather passes and the warm weather starts to go on, the pre-emergent's going to lose its effectiveness, and when the spring comes by, I'll be good to go. It's different on established lawns. On established lawns in the springtime, we want to put out pre-emergent as the weather warms up, because that's when seeds start to germinate, especially your crabgrass is what a lot of people are worried about. So on established lawns, I'm going to come out probably around March 1st and put my pre-emergent. If I have a newly seeded or newly sodded lawn that has already started to establish, I'm not going to come out that late. I'm going to come out, I'm going to kick it back 2 or 3 months and put down a pre-emergent. So that's a little bit different information than you're probably used to hearing for new sod or new seed. But in the dead of winter, you can come out right dead in the middle, like late December and January, put down a coat of pre-emergent, and by the time that pre-emergent starts to wear off the effect, and by the time it starts to penetrate deep into there, it'll probably be gone. So that's a good little tip for new sod and new seed. I think probably one of the next questions I get asked most often is combinations of treatments. In other words, Doc, how long do I have to wait before I can put out fertilizer after I put down my pre-emergent? And the answer is you can pretty much put everything on your lawn all at once. It doesn't matter. We do it all the time. We come out and do multiple treatments and put everything we need on the lawn. The only determining factor there is the action afterwards, the after action. And what does that mean? Let me give you an example. I wouldn't go out and put down pre-emergent if I was going to go spray for weeds. And why is that? It's because my pre-emergent needs to be watered right away into the ground, but my weed killer needs to be unwatered for 2 or 3 days. Make sense? So I don't want to put down a product that I have to water in and a product that I don't want to water in. But we're switching over in the fall now to one of these two products probably. We're switching over to PGF Balanced, which is the micro fine particle 10-10-10 with iron and micronutrients, or the Green Shocker, the new Green Shocker. Now these two products are not slow release, so you can spoon feed your lawn all the way through the fall now and feed it nice and slow, and it won't keep feeding for weeks and weeks and weeks. Both of these products are fine, so you can put down your Pre-emergent and your Green Shocker, because both of those you want watered in right away. So put it down. If you wanted to do a bug treatment with a double kill, yes, Pre-emergent, double kill, and fertilizer all at once, and then water it. All those products need to be watered in. So it's the after action that determines what products you can put down together. Make sense? Hope it does. So I'm sitting here waiting. We have a chance of one more rain shower today. We're supposed to have one more possible thunderstorm here in the next hour or two, and guess what's going to happen about 4 o'clock? At 4 o'clock, the sun's going to come out after, gosh, it seems like a whole week, but it's only been about 4 days where this soil is just absolutely saturated. My lawn is getting too long, so we've got a lot of work coming up. Hit that subscribe button. I should have my pool cleaner show up any day. I'm going to show you the new pool cleaner. We'll be putting down some Green Shocker. We'll be putting down some PGF Balance. I'll be putting down Pre-emergents. We'll be doing a lot of cutting. I got a bunch of stuff to finish up before we shoot back down. If you want to save a little bit of money, if it's an Anderson product, in the website below, I have linked to the Anderson's new online store. And if you enter the code DOC, if you enter the code DOC when you're checking out, almost every product will give you an additional discount. And if they're running any sales at that time, it always defaults to the lowest price. So make sure if you're going over to the Anderson store to buy any of this, you can go to Amazon or the Anderson store. If you go to Anderson store, use the code DOC and that'll give you that discount. That's about it. Talk to you later. Doc.